My name is Tyler, and this is my story. I don't remember the beginning. I wasn't born into a warm hospital room with waiting arms. They told me I was found. A screaming newborn wrapped in a thin blue blanket, left on the steps of St. Mary's Abbey Monastery, left in the rain, left like garbage. No name, no note, no one. And somehow, that's all I needed to know about who I was. When you grow up without a real home, without real heritage, you start to feel like you're floating, like you're a mistake someone forgot to erase. Other kids had birthday candles, bedtime kisses, pictures on the fridge. Me, I had moving boxes, new faces, new rules, over and over again. I used to stare at them, the lucky ones, through the chain link fences at school, the way they ran into their parents' arms after school, the way they complained about stupid things like curfews and chores. I envied them so much it hurt, like a slow, deep ache I couldn't explain. I learned early that love wasn't something kids like me got. My first real home was with Mrs. Cartwright in Milltown, a 2-story house that smelled like old milk and wet carpets. I was 4 years old. At first, I tried to be good. I said, "Yes, ma'am," folded my hands, smiled when told. I thought, if I was good enough, someone would finally keep me. Mrs. Cartwright didn't care about good. She cared about quiet, about rules, and about her monthly checks. The first time I cried, I don't even remember why she snapped. She grabbed the stuffed rabbit I clutched every night, tore it from my arms, and threw it straight into the fireplace. I remember standing there, watching it burn, my hands shaking, and somewhere deep inside me, something cracked. Even as a kid, I knew. This wasn't right. This wasn't how families were supposed to be. After that night, I stopped asking for hugs. I stopped crying. I stopped believing. When I turned 7, the Johnsons adopted me, smiling, church-going, neatly dressed, Pinebrook's picture-perfect family. At first, I believed it. I thought maybe this was it. A real mom, a real dad. I tried hard, too hard. I cleaned my room until my hands bled. I memorized Bible verses to impress them. I laughed at their bad jokes. I did everything to be their real son. But it was never enough. Every mistake I made, a bad test score, a scraped knee, a loud laugh, they treated it like proof that I was broken, that I was something less. Mr. Johnson would look at me like I was dirt under his shoe. And for Mrs. Johnson, she just stopped looking at me at all. I embarrassed them when I got into a fight at school because a kid called me an orphan. They didn't care to ask why. They locked me in the garage with nothing but a thin blanket for a week. And they told the neighbors I was troubled. 3 years later, they packed my clothes into garbage bags, drove me back to the agency, and signed the papers without even saying goodbye. Next was Mr. Barlow's place in Grey Ridge, a crumbling house stuffed with too many kids and too little care. By then, I understood. Kids like me, we weren't the same as normal kids. We were leftovers. Scraps nobody wanted. I tried not to care, tried to just keep my head down, survive the shouting, survive the slaps. But deep down, I still wished, stupidly, for a miracle. There were other kids too, Maya, Josh, little Anthony. Sometimes, we'd huddle together in the dark, share a candy bar someone stole from the gas station, talk about the families we wished we had. I wonder where they are now. Did they make it out? Do they remember me at all? And yet again, sometimes, I wish I didn't remember them either. By 13, I knew survival meant only one thing. You don't get attached. You don't hope. You don't believe. You get dangerous. When I turned 14, the Parkers showed up. Rich, polished, desperate. They paraded me around like a trophy. "Look at our brave adopted son. Aren't we so generous?" they would say. At school events, they were perfect. Laughing, hugging me, posing for pictures. But at home, I was a stain on their perfect life. Every mistake, every angry outburst, they took it personally. Mr. Parker shouted. Mrs. Parker cried and slammed doors. I was always on guard, always waiting for the next explosion. Because somewhere along the way, I learned that love was just another kind of weapon. When I got caught shoplifting once, one stupid time for stealing a pack of gum, they threw me out without blinking. Turns out, they didn't want a son. They wanted a photo opportunity. School wasn't much better either. I was a ghost until I wasn't. Until I fought. Until I broke lockers, punched walls, and cursed out teachers. I spent more time in the principal's office than in actual class. They knew me by name, and not in a good way. Friends, I didn't trust anyone long enough for that. If you kept your distance, you didn't get hurt. Simple math. So I stayed alone, tough and untouchable. Drugs were easy. Pills numbed the anger. Smoke blurred the memories. I didn't care. Why should I? In my mind, if the world hated me, I could hate it back harder. And through it all, one thought rotted inside me like a wound that wouldn't heal. Why me? Why wasn't I good enough? Why did they leave me? I imagined my real parents. Were they laughing somewhere? Were they happy? Did they ever think about the boy they threw away? Every fist I swung, every law I broke, I imagined them seeing me and knowing they made this. Hate was easier than grief, easier than hope. When I turned 18, I imagined no more caseworkers, no more fake families, no more anyone, just me and the wreckage of everything they left behind. It was early morning when I found it. A cold, gray light was slipping through the cracked blinds, and the world outside still felt half asleep. I stumbled out of bed, floorboards freezing under my bare feet, planning to grab something to eat before heading out. That's when I saw it. An envelope, plain, unmarked. It was sitting there, halfway pushed under the door of my apartment. No knock, no footsteps walking away, no sound at all, just there. At first I thought it was junk mail, maybe some eviction notice I had missed. But when I picked it up, the paper felt different, thicker, older, rough to the touch. The handwriting was uneven, almost trembling, scrawled across the front. For Benjamin. I froze. Who is Benjamin? I asked myself. The hallway outside was empty when I cracked the door open. No footsteps, no neighbors, just silence. It was like the letter had just appeared, like it had been waiting. My heart hammered in my chest as I shut the door again, the envelope still clutched in my hand. That was the moment, though I didn't know it yet. Part of me wanted to toss it straight into the trash. I didn't get letters. Nobody cared enough. Nobody even knew where I lived most of the time. Stuff like this, mysterious notes from ghosts, didn't happen to people like me. I sat down on the edge of the bed, the springs groaning under my weight, and turned the envelope over in my hands. The paper was old, not just yellowed, but brittle, like it might fall apart if I held it too tight. It felt hesitant, like whoever wrote it almost didn't send it. Curiosity gnawed at me, but so did something uglier. Fear. I tore it open with a frustrated sigh, ready to be disappointed. Inside was a single folded sheet of paper, creased so many times it was soft at the edges. The ink was faded but careful, like someone had taken their time, even when their time must have been running out. Without meaning to, I glanced at the bottom of the page first. A habit I picked up from eviction notices and court letters. And that's when I saw it. Hannah Carter. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. I didn't know her. At least, I didn't think I did. But something deep in my chest twisted. Fear, sadness, anger. Maybe all three fighting for space inside me. I almost crumpled it up right then and there. Almost. But my hands, they didn't listen. They held on. Before I could stop myself, I unfolded the letter carefully. My fingers brushed the fragile paper like it was something sacred. And then I began to read. My dearest son, I don't know if you will ever read this, or if you will even want to. Maybe by the time you find this, you'll have built a life full of questions I can never answer. Still, I have to try. I have to tell you who you are, and who we were. First, I need to tell you something important. Your name, the name we chose for you long before you were born, was Benjamin. Benjamin James Carter. We called you Benji when you kicked in my belly at night. We dreamed of you long before we even thought we deserved to. Your father, Aaron, and I met when we were just kids ourselves, barely 20. I was studying early childhood education. He was working long hours fixing cars at a garage in our small town. We met at a diner on a rainy afternoon. I was soaked and miserable. He sat across from me, ordered 2 coffees without asking, and said, Looks like you could use some warmth. That was just how Aaron was. We fell in love faster than we ever planned. Our life wasn't perfect. Cheap apartments, secondhand furniture, more bills than money. But we were happy. We had each other, and we had dreams. A small house, weekend barbecues, a dog, and you. You were part of every plan before you were even real. We used to sit under the stars and pick names for our future kids. And every time, we circled back to Benjamin. Strong, gentle, brave. Everything we hoped you would be. When I found out I was pregnant, it was the happiest moment of my life. Aaron cried. He actually cried. A tough guy with grease on his hands, sobbing into my shoulder. We bought a tiny crib secondhand and painted it together. It was yellow, bright and messy and full of hope. Then, at my 5-month checkup, everything changed. They found the cancer. Aggressive, late stage. Suddenly, the world we built started to crumble. I was given a choice: fight the cancer and risk losing you, or delay treatment to give you a chance. I didn't hesitate, Benji. I chose you. I would choose you again 1,000 times. The months after that were harder than I can put into words. I grew weaker. I had to leave work. Aaron became everything. My caretaker, my nurse, my anchor. He cooked when I couldn't stand, held my hair when I was sick, sang to my belly at night, even when he was exhausted. He built a rocking chair for the nursery with his own hands. We thought we still had more time, but life has a way of stealing even the little we hope for. The night you decided to come into the world, everything moved too fast. I was home alone when the labor started. Too early, too soon. Aaron raced back to me, speeding down rain-slicked roads, trying to get us to the hospital. He never made it. They told me his car skidded, flipped into a ravine. He died trying to get to us. He died loving you. I wish I could tell you I was strong after that, but the truth is, I shattered. My body was too weak. My heart was already broken. They said you were a miracle for surviving the birth at all. And you were. You still are. I wanted so desperately to keep you, Benjamin. But I had nothing left. No family to help. No health to lean on. No future to offer you. I knew I had weeks at best. And I couldn't bear the thought of you dying with me in some empty room. I needed you to live, to have a chance, to be free from the weight of my slow death. That's why I left you where I prayed someone kind would find you. At the steps of a place where hope still existed, even if mine had run out. Giving you up was not abandonment. It was the only act of love I had left. I wrapped you in the only blanket Aaron bought with his paycheck, a soft blue one with little stars. I kissed your forehead. I whispered your name and walked away so you wouldn't have to carry my ghosts. Every second after that hurt more than dying ever did. I don't know the life you've had. I don't know if the world has been kind or cruel. I hope you are strong. I hope you are kind. I hope you have Aaron's laugh and his stubborn, endless heart. If you hate me, I understand. If you curse me, I understand. I deserve it all. But if, by some miracle, you can find it in your soul to forgive me, please know you were always loved. You were wanted. You were my greatest joy and my greatest sorrow. My beautiful Benjamin. Live. Live so brightly that the stars themselves envy you. Live for all the days Aaron and I won't see. Live and know that somewhere, somehow, we are still loving you. With every beat of the hearts we lost too soon. With all the love a mother can give. Hannah Carter. I didn't even realize I was crying until I tasted salt on my lips. The paper slipped from my fingers, drifting to the floor like a dead leaf. I just sat there, staring at nothing, feeling everything. All the walls I had built around myself, every angry word, every fight, every sneer and punch thrown at the world. It all cracked open, bleeding out across the worn floorboards. My parents hadn't abandoned me. They hadn't tossed me aside like some broken toy. They had fought for me, loved me, died loving me. The thought was too big. It filled my lungs like drowning. It punched through every lie I had ever told myself just to survive. I bent forward, my head in my hands, and let out a sound I didn't recognize, a ragged, broken sob that tore itself free without my permission. The old anger tried to rise up again, but it was too late. The truth was in my veins now, sinking into places I had long buried. I remembered every night I spent staring at ceilings in strange bedrooms. Every birthday I had spent pretending it didn't matter. Every time I told myself I didn't need anybody. And somewhere, beneath all that bitterness and rage, a boy named Benjamin, a boy I had never allowed myself to be, was still waiting. I wiped at my face roughly, embarrassed even though I was alone. The letter lay at my feet, still and small, but it felt heavier than any burden I had ever carried. A part of me wanted to scream. A part of me wanted to curl up and never move again. But mostly I just sat there, whispering one broken word into the empty room, over and over, like a prayer to people I would never meet. The sun was coming up outside. A new day I hadn't asked for. A new day I wasn't sure I deserved, but was there just the same. And maybe it was time I finally started living, as the boy they named, the boy they dreamed of, the boy they died for. Benjamin. Some stories don't end with answers, but end with understanding. With truth, raw, painful, and healing. Benjamin's story isn't about what was lost. It's about what survived. It's about love, even after death, even after everything. Sometimes the hardest thing to believe is that you were never truly alone. And sometimes a single letter can save a life that thought it was already over. Thank you for listening.